It's 2023 and we have the first balance patch notes. Of course, these are the initial notes and some things may be adjusted before the patch rolls out on the 14th. Who knows, maybe you'll fall in love again with a class you have not paid too much attention to. Let's go through the notes and see what ArenaNet is planning for this round. As always, I will leave people with more experience to talk about the PvP notes and I will focus on the PvE updates. The first point of the update are mantras. They will be reversed to what we had quite a while ago, where they have to be charged before using them. The charging is a pretty long animation, which to be honest looked very nice on Firebrand. This charging will be done automatically when you are switching maps in PvE. They are also improving the last charge to be more powerful, so you have to wait using it as the cooldown will be longer and you need to recharge it. What I will most probably do is to use the last charge in the last part of the fight and recharge it before the next boss, but of course this will depend on the encounter. Now moving on to classes, let's start with Elementalist. For core Elementalist, we have cooldown reductions to cantrips and small buffs to staff skills and some small nerfs to Scepter in PvP and World vs World. Tempest is finally getting Pulsing Alack, which is a patch late, but better late than never. I think this will increase the amount of boon support Tempest we see in the wild. And we also have buffs to Weaver, which I did not expect to be honest, but it seems ArenaNet wants to bring back power builds since the buffs are for the Power Weaver. Catalyst is also on the list but only for PvP nerfs, which means ArenaNet is okay with how it performs at the moment in PvE. I'm of the same opinion. Catalyst has some nice damage, but is very squishy, so a very good balance as far as I can see. Engineer is next, and we have some small buffs to Core, Scrapper and Mechanist. The pistol skills will have animation cast time reduced, which was long overdue in my opinion. Scrapper has some cooldown reduction and a small buff to Applied Force Rate. And Mech has again the most updates. The first one is that the Mech will be the one to pulse the boons, and to balance this, the mech is inheriting 150% concentration from the player instead of 100%. And another important change is that the mech can be away from you for 10 seconds instead of 6, before having its attributes reduced. There are also some other minor buffs to the Condi version. Next is Guardian, and we have more buffs to power weapons. Sword, Greysword and Focus will be slightly buffed to bring the power builds more in line with the Condi versions. Dragon Hunter also gets some buffs as well, which is great in my opinion as Guardian was mostly used as a firebrand, so this brings more diversity. Willbender has just one line for this update, but in my opinion is a very good one because the power version will already be affected by the changes to Sword, Greatsword and Focus, but now the Alack version will be usable as well, since the flames from Flowing Resolve will not be overwritten when you are using Rushing Justice or Crashing Courage. I was also hoping for an update to the movement of Flowing Resolve to stop you from when you hit the target, as they did to LS movement dagger skills. Moving on to Mesmer, we also have some nice buffs, but also the update mentioned at the beginning for mantras, which could be considered a nerf. The core traits had some nice cooldown reductions applied like everyone else, and the mantras were slightly buffed. Necromancer is also buffed a bit and has some quality of life updates to the shield. And Virtuoso received just a fix for the unblockable effect that was not applied in some situation. Overall, Mesmer was pretty balanced in PvE, so I think it can be seen in the amount of updates in this round. Next up is Necromancer, which also has cooldown reductions and buffs to Dagger as a main hand weapon. Honestly, I even forgot the Dagger can be used in main hand. And Reaper is getting some buffs, most of them affect shouts. I hope it will be enough to be in line as in the last balance update they kind of buffed Necro but not at the same level with other specs in the meta. Ranger is next, and as you expected we again have cooldown reductions. The core skills also got some nice buffs, among them being Signets, which is great as they were forgotten for a long time. We also have some buffs to Soul Beast, but they are mostly targeted at PvP and World vs World. Untamed gets a small cast time for its teleport skill. Revenant, another class that gets some nerfs in PvP, but also some small buffs in PvE. Herald seems to be in a good place, as it is not mentioned during this patch. Renegade finally gets some boon duration for the Alacrity version. Hopefully we won't need to use the leadership runes anymore. Vindicator doesn't have any updates for PvE, only PvP nerfs. Thief is also getting buffs. The core class gets cooldown reductions and small buffs. Daredevil had its F1 skill name change from swipe to steal, and some cooldown reduction. Deadeye find its identity again with buffs to rifle. We will have to see if it's enough to bring the rifle Deadeye back in the meta. Spectre also gets some small buffs. And finally, Warrior, which also gets some buffs. Let's start with the core class, which gets lots of updates for PvP and World vs World, and small buffs and cooldown reductions for PvE. Berserker seems to be split 50-50 between PvP and PvE in updates, but it also seems to be balanced in terms of buffs versus nerfs, which we will have to see where it stands after the patch. Spellbreaker has a change to full counter and traits related to burst skills, which will proc when the skill is hitting the enemy and not when it absorbs the damage. So maybe this counts as a nerf? I don't know. I don't see it as a big change since the skill will hit anyway, as it says it's unblockable. And finally, Bladesworn. This one is big as it has quite a few changes, specifically to the range. Most skills of the gun saber have now been updated to launch projectiles at your target. So when you have to fight from range, you do not need to just look at your target and smile, while others smash that boss from 1200 range with full burst. Virtuoso. Overall, this is another huge patch, and with good updates in my opinion. There is still some room to improve things for some specs, but we are on the right track, and while the changes to mantras were not expected, we will have to see how people adapt to this change. But I did not see that much backlash against this patch, so see you in game. If you want to see more content like this, please let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, please click the like and subscribe buttons.